One potential domino that could disrupt NVIDIA's AI empire is the fact that 80 to 85% of the revenue, based on some estimates as early as 2024, show that they come from AI workloads. So this could be, let's say, 20 something billion dollars in a single quarter from their data center segment alone. And what could be a risk to this? Well, one of the things that could be a risk to this is that if China has been able to develop a alternate solution, so in the case of Google, they actually do have an alternate solution called the TPU, or the TensorFlow processing unit. We also have alternate chips like FPGAs that could be specifically programmed to do deep learning. There are also maybe commodity chips that could be custom developed that also could do things for deep learning. So if there's a solution that's been developed that doesn't need the NVIDIA chips, all of a sudden there could be a real big problem, because the revenue that's tied to AI could essentially evaporate. So maybe the first phase could be, people are starting to wonder, well, wait a second, why is the cost so low? I thought we stopped all the chips, but it turns out that potentially they don't need the chips, right? They have another type of a solution. And even further, what if there's a global cascade here where maybe some of the Western companies go, well, wait, if they have a better chip, why do we need to buy these GPU chips? So you could see there could be essentially like a cascading problem if there is an alternative to GPUs. Again, this is a completely hypothetical risk, but based on real hardware that's in the market today. For example, the TPU from Google has been developed for years and years and years. FPGAs are available from Amazon. If there is something similar, that could potentially cause a real big problem. Now, also, if we look at the CUDA ecosystem, that could be part of it. Is that they have this nice SDK and they have this whole ecosystem around it. So that is one of the barriers. But if there's an alternative solution that is still able to use that same style, then potentially that could disrupt the industry. So if you think about some of the things that are happening inside of this open source DeepSeek and the Quinn type models that are coming out, it's true that they have a disruptive capability for OpenAI, because in the fact of OpenAI, they were previously valued at 147 billion. It's unknown what current valuations could be. They could be as low as, let's say, 10 million, right? Because if the model is free, and all of your value is based on a proprietary model, and a free one is better, then your company essentially has almost no value other than the talent that's involved in the company and the hardware, uh, essentially the book value of your company. But in the case of other scenarios that are related to this, what if actually the AI chips required, uh, for example, you need much less, like you need 5 or 10% or 1% of what OpenAI was using? That's one scenario that already causes issues. But even further, what if there's a scenario, maybe not today, uh, although it could happen today, but in the future, in the near future, where NVIDIA chips are just not necessary anymore? That could cause a cascading failure in terms of NVIDIA. So some of the things that are very interesting in terms of betting your whole company on one particular market segment is that it's actually then exposed to this systemic risk. 80 to 85% of your revenue coming from one source means that if there is a competitive advantage from some other region, or there's some competition, all of a sudden your company just doesn't exist anymore. If you look at other companies like Microsoft or AWS or Amazon or Google or Apple, right? They have so many different ways that they make money that, one product line that failed, it would be, would hurt them. Like, for example, if the iPhone failed for Apple, or, the desktop computer failed, etc. Like, it would be a big loss, but it wouldn't be a systemic death of the company. If 80% of your revenue comes from AI workloads, and there's an alternative that essentially is almost free, and it substantially reduces the cost of some GPU based training or GPU based inference. That's a real problem. So I think really the nutshell summary of DeepSeek that's kind of interesting is, as you pull back the threads from this, is that I think it really does expose that there's some deep systemic risk with NVIDIA. It's possible that nothing happens, right? And that the valuation continues and people continue to buy chips. But it does put a little bit of light on the fact that, if you're getting all of your revenue from one source, in this case, AI training, there is something to be aware of in terms of systemic risk. And, if that does actually play out, it could be devastating for NVIDIA.